What's up, guys? This is your boy Topher, and what you're seeing here is me finally generating from Gen 3 to Gen 4. It took me a while to do it. The achievements that I had to do in order to get through that was the plasma railgun. I had to kill 50 titans. I had to kill 100 enemies with the plasma railgun. Had to kill 50 pilots with satchel charges. And had to kill 200 enemies total with the, I think it was the car SMG. But I finally did it. Finished it up last night. And this is me actually generating from Gen 3 to Gen 4. So if you've never generated, this is what happens when you finally do it. The screen pops up, looks like it's reprogramming you. It's kind of interesting. And there you have it. Gen 4, level number 1. So, before we get started on today's topic, this is a commentary, because I haven't done a commentary in a while. I've been busy doing just regular gameplay videos. I want you guys to do me a huge favor, and please check out Gearhead Modding at their website, gearheadmods.com. We are sponsored by Gearhead Modding, and they're just an amazing controller company. They really do right by their customer, and they have amazing products, so please go check them out. But the topic that I wanted to get into today was not even like Call of Duty related or Titanfall related. It was more like real life related, and it has to do with the hater nation. Haters in general. What are they? Why are they the way that they are? And the easiest description of that is that a hater is somebody that is mad at you because you're a reflection of what they want. There's something that you have or something that you're doing that they want to have. And because they don't, their jealousy kicks in. And they're not going to admit that they're jealous. They're not going to admit that they're being a hater. All they know is that you represent something they don't currently have. And their jealousy kicks in, and they start to hate on you. And there's only one real way that you can handle haters like that, and that's just to let them be haters. That's why Hater Nation's slogan is "Let them be haters." Because the more that you give into that, and the more that you give them more fuel, the more tension and strife that that's going to cause. And the Hater Nation has had plenty of haters, and we've dealt with them all. And the easiest way to do that is to show them for what they are, which is being jealous retards, basically. It's the only way I can really describe it. But in real life, like, why do people hate on you in real life? Like, that's the million-dollar question of today's commentary, is why people tend to latch onto something about somebody else and let that be their focus, let that be their main drive, versus getting inspired to go out and do more with their lives. Like, that's my question. You know, I look at people like Joe Rogan, for example. I am a firm fan, a huge fan of the Joe Rogan experience. And I actually sub to Powerful JRE on YouTube, and I suggest that you do too. Joe Rogan is an inspiration because his story came from nothing. You know, he was a comic trying to make his way, and now look what he does. He's able to sit down with some friends, have a conversation, and do a podcast daily or every other day, however often that they do it. And he's got some awesome guests. I mean, he's had Maynard from Tool. You know, he's had Dana White on the podcast. A lot of MMA celebrities have been on the podcast. You know, people from different walks of life that he's able to have come into the studio and talk to. And all this due to his hard work and dedication towards his craft, which first and foremost is being a comedian, and secondly, being the best commentator I think that's out there for mixed martial arts. He has a huge knowledge base on multiple martial arts, and if you don't know a lot about Joe Rogan, please go check him out and look up his history and the things that he's done. He's actually a Taekwondo champion. That's where he started in martial arts. He was a practitioner in Taekwondo. He was actually state champion in Massachusetts. at a young age too. So he knows a little bit about the dedication that's needed and competing at that high level, because in Taekwondo at that level, that's the level that he was competing at is the highest that you can get, minus being in the Olympics, you know, and he's been there, he's lived it. So he brings his expertise in there because he's also friends with Eddie Bravo. And if you don't know who Eddie Bravo is the only American to win the ADCC and beat an actual Gracie. And if you're not familiar with jiu-jitsu, not familiar with mixed martial arts in general, jiu-jitsu was featured in the first Ultimate Fighting Championship and is what won, because Royce Gracie won the tournament and really blew away a lot of people's minds with how you don't need to necessarily strike with your opponent. You can make them submit, make them admit defeat. And especially in the male-dominated presence of the UFC at that point, there was such a male ego that I'm never going to submit, I'm never going to tap out. And the fact that you push somebody to that point where they go against what they say, to say, hey, I can't take this anymore, you can just go ahead and have the win, because you're going to break my arm, or I'm going to go unconscious, or I'm afraid. That's just outstanding. I mean, the fact that the first opponent that Royce Gracie had fought was this guy, I think his name was Art Jemerson, and he had a boxing glove on one hand and a bare hand in the other. And basically, Royce just laid on top of him, and he started tapping because he didn't know what to do. He freaked out. He was already done. He already decided that his ticket into that tournament to show that boxing was the best martial art was done. He already admitted it. And that's the way jiu-jitsu played a role in that. Eddie Bravo, to get back on subject, is one of the best friends of Joe Rogan and invented the 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu system. And if you've ever watched some of these guys pull off 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu stuff in MMA, or even watched some 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu and Jiu-Jitsu competitions, it's amazing the things that you can do by staying very close to your opponent, being flexible, being able to control every movement of your opponent to put yourself in the best position. It's like literally physical chess, you know, and it's awesome. And the fact that Joe Rogan has that much insight and is actually a practitioner of 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, it just adds more to his craft whenever he's commentating the UFC. I'm a huge UFC fan. I have been since the first day I rented the VHS tape of the Ultimate Fighting Championship when I was in high school. I put it into the VCR at my mom and dad's house, started watching it, and my dad comes out and says, "What the fuck are you watching?" And I said, "This is the Ultimate Fighting Championship. This is where like all the best martial artists come this one time to prove whose martial art is the best. Like, this is the best thing ever." I was hooked. Absolutely hooked. And it brings an aspect of competition that I like in Titanfall too. And I want you to roll with me on this one, because Call of Duty has been the predominant mainstay of first-person shooters on YouTube for quite a while now. Especially since first-person shooters started to get big in the video game scene with the $1 million tournaments. You know, you've got these storied organizations that have been around for a while, such as Optic Gaming, Envious, you've got FaZe, you know, you've got all these different groups that have started from something. Optic and FaZe and Envy originally started off as sniping clans and decided to get into the competitive side of Call of Duty. And once that happened, it opened up a whole nother avenue that took a while to grow. A lot like MMA. MMA took so long to finally blossom and become mainstream, and the thing that brought it out was the Ultimate Fighter TV show. It is the greatest mixed martial arts match of all time. Stephen Bonner versus Forrest Griffin for the Ultimate Fighter finale. That's what broke out the UFC and made it mainstream as it is today. And it's all thanks to the Fertittas and to Dana White and to Spike TV for putting it on TV. I honestly think, like, where Call of Duty is at now, it's fun, The last game, Ghost, kind of staled it out a little bit. We need something to invigorate, something to add something back into the first-person shooter community. And I honestly, in my honest opinion, anybody can argue with me on this. When Ghost took out Capture the Flag, I think it took out a huge piece of that puzzle that would have helped make this game mainstream. Now, bring in Titanfall, which is only on the Xbox One and PC. Brand new franchise on a brand new console that a lot of people are starting to hate on. And I just really don't understand it. Why people are hating on it. It's its own franchise. It's starting out. It has to start from somewhere. It has to have a focal point. It has to start from scratch at some point in its history, and this is where it started. Yeah, there's not a lot of weapons. They only had 3 maps in the first DLC. But look at the lag compensation on here versus playing on Ghosts. Look at the fact that you can now play on server-based games versus being hooked up to somebody else's Xbox when they're downloading porn. I mean, they've made leaps and bounds above what Call of Duty has ever done in their first game. And nobody's talking about that. Nobody's taking that into account. Respawn Entertainment has reinvented what multiplayer can be. They have set the precedence. And now that the new Call of Duty is coming out, Advanced Warfare, if Advanced Warfare doesn't take a page out of the playbook for Titanfall's multiplayer, if they don't learn from what Titanfall is doing right, it's going to fail too. It's going to drop off because people are sick and tired of feeling like they're running in place sometimes. And I know that when it comes to the competitive side, everything's played on an Xbox host or on an actual console host versus a server. But what if it was possible to make competitive, the top tier competitive people play online on a server-based system? Is that possible? Is it even doable? I believe it is. Multiplayer is at this point. It's just a matter of gathering people into a lobby and loading them into the right server that's going to fix lag comp for everybody involved so that everybody has an equal chance. That's one of the major reasons why I stopped doing competitive Call of Duty, because the lag was just so bad. I really don't get how people can play like that. You know, people like Optic and Envy and FaZe and Complexity, that's now Evil Geniuses, like these guys have a lot of patience. They really do, because I couldn't do it. You know? And I'm going to be doing a couple of videos later of host-based lobbies with Titanfall, where I'm going to host one, and then I'm going to have some other people host one from around the country to really check like how the competitive part is as far as like console-based hosting on this game. Because I don't have it on the overlay here, but on the last few videos you may have seen that I have Defy on my overlay. And that's because I'm really wanting to get into competitive Titanfall, which has just now started to come out on UMG Online and on MLG. So I kind of drifted off, talked about haters, talked about competitive, talked about some other things, but hopefully you guys stayed with me. If you guys liked the video, give it a like, leave some comments below, let me know what you guys think about haters in general, about Call of Duty scene, about Titanfall, all that. And until next time, let them be haters, guys. This has been your boy Topher. Later, haters.
Like one more and get off.